PBS Kids had some hidden gems that nobody talked about.
I remember when we were staring at a photo. Don't forget the way you look me in the eyes. And I keep you in my heart. In my heart is where you are. I still think of you. I want you coming back. I remember when we were staring at a photo. Don't forget the way you look me in the eyes. And I keep you in my heart. In my heart is where you are. I still think of you. I want you coming back. Call me when you want.
Some of these shows were straight up classic, and y'all might have forgotten them.
On this video, chances are you're a fan of cartoons. A large percentage of you probably watch shows like these from Disney Channel, Nickelodeon, and Cartoon Network. But there is a small percentage of us cartoon enjoyers who didn't have the chance to watch these shows, as we grew up without cable. So what we got to watch was this, PBS Kids.
Yeah, I got to watch
PBS Kids was actually a really good channel.
It went bad, absolutely.
The audience important educational skills.
Absolutely went bad.
It actually had some really good shows that I'm going to be talking about. When I look back at some of these, I can't help but think that they're underrated. They're actually better than some
of the PBS Kids.
Starting with this absolute banger, we got Wild Kratts. This show was one of my favorites on PBS, as it just felt like a show that was so much more than a little kid show. The show,
Wild Kratts was like a show that felt like more than just a kid show. Cause not only it was fun to watch, but it taught you the different animals and taught you like what different animals do, and it literally gave you some facts on animals and life form and on insects.
It's about these two brothers named Chris and Martin Kratt, who traveled the world with their friends Aviva, Koki, and Jimmy to hang out with and protect wildlife. They traveled in a giant turtle mech called the Tortuga, and they had these creature power suits that allowed them to turn into whatever animal they touched after Aviva made them the corresponding creature power discs. I remember wanting a creature power suit really bad when I was younger, so I could turn into any animal I remember watching this show, and when the Kratt Bros would trade creature power discs with each other, I would imagine which ones I would trade with. I remember really wanting the Peregrine Falcon disc so I could nosedive at ungodly speeds. The show had three main villains: Zach, who was the tech guy, Gourmand, who was a chef and a poacher, and Danita Donata, who was a fashion designer. She had a henchman guy with her who reminded me of Kronk from Emperor's New Groove. Every episode, one of these three would try to do something to endanger animals, and the Kratt brothers would have to put a stop to them. Sometimes all three villains would team up in certain episodes, which was always fun. My favorite villain was definitely Zach, though, because he seemed to hate the Kratt bros the most. I remember he was bitter that Aviva was a better inventor than him, and whenever the Kratt brothers would defeat him, he would go, "I'll get you next time, wild rats!" And they would all respond with, "That's wild, Kratts!" One episode I used to love was the episode where Zach challenged Aviva to a race to see whose inventions was faster, but instead of playing fair, he kidnapped a cheetah and put it in a robot. I'm pretty sure this episode inspired a game on the PBS Kids website called Go Cheetah Go, where you race as the cheetah bot from the episode. I used to play it all the time, but unfortunately it seems to be lost forever now. Besides the villains and the main characters, the show didn't really have any other characters. It had some recurring animals, but besides that, there wasn't much world building. Now that I think about it, there were these...
It wasn't too much world building or too much like building to make it perfect.
Kids that would just show up randomly depending on where the Wild Kratts were and help them with certain things.
And the creepy
they were called the Wild Krat Kids. And then being a part of the show gave me the feeling that I was also a Wild Krat kid. Like, if for whatever reason the Kratt bros came to my area to preserve an endangered species, they could just hit me up and I would be there. The show also taught me a lot about animals. I learned about endangered species like the dodo bird and Tasmanian devil through watching
the show. Actually taught me
I also learned how orangutans swing from trees and leaves.
It actually taught me about everything about animal and what they're do in their living habitat.
To heal their sore hands. I learned that gazelles run in a zigzag pattern to avoid prey. I
I
genuinely
learned that
learned
too.
so much from these two. Side
But I
note,
don't
I
know
have to
why
quickly
it's so
give the Kratt brothers
underrated.
their respect
I don't know why
because they've
in my
been making good shows way before
PBS
this one.
kid
Before Wild Kratts, they had a show
level
called
of
Zaboomafoo
best
where they essentially
kids
did the
show.
same thing, educate kids about wildlife, except in that show they weren't animated and they had a pet lemur with them. Regardless, these two are very good at what they do as they made me interested in animals and learning everything there
Oh,
is
I
to know
remember
about
that,
them.
but
Next childhood
it went
classic is
good
Word
like
Girl.
on Wildcraft.
Word Girl was a show about a
Oh,
girl
I
named Becky
forgot about
Botsford
Word
and her
Girl.
I remember when we were staring photo. Don't forget the way you look me in the eyes. And I keep you in my heart. In my heart is where you are. I still think of you. I want you coming back. I remember when we were
pet monkey Bob. She lived with her mom, dad, and younger brother TJ, but she wasn't your ordinary girl. She was actually a
She
superhero
wouldn't.
named Word Girl from the planet Lexicon and crashed down on Earth when she was young, with her sidekick Captain Huggy Face. She now fights crime on Earth with her superhero abilities and her large vocabulary. This show was honestly peak. I don't know if I can really call it
It wasn't.
underrated at this point
It
because
wasn't
I've noticed
bad
people
actually.
actually start to talk
I'll
about
say it
how
was
good it was in
average,
recent
but
years, which
it
was
was up
surprising to
there.
me considering I never thought I'd see the day when my childhood shows would receive their praise. But nonetheless, it was a welcome surprise. The character of Becky was great. When she wasn't Word Girl, she was a strong, intelligent, and resourceful girl who
Yep,
hung out with her pet
you
monkey
wrong
and
about
her
that.
two friends Violet and Scoops. Her younger brother TJ kind of despised her, but hilariously, he was president of the Word Girl fan club, which is one of those basic tropes and shows that I enjoy. Word Girl herself is similar to Superman in the amount of power she has. She can hear things from miles away. She has ice breath. She can fly.
Hey, bro, how much power like this? It went bad. Like, bro, if y'all end up calling me word boy, would that fit the instinct? Like, come on, chat, come on. Don't tell me word boy not good. Like, drop it down a comment and tell me word boy is not good. Think about it.
At supersonic speeds and she has super strength. Plus, her weakness is Lexinite, which is a not so subtle reference to Kryptonite. Her sidekick, Captain Huggy Face, doesn't really have powers besides his ability to eat a lot, which makes him useful in my eyes, considering at least two of Word Girl's
Yeah,
villains
it
shoot
do.
food at
It
her.
actually do
I think
make
Word Girl
make
really
him
shined
a
with its
youthful
writing.
sidekick.
The dialogue for the
Like
show
he
was
like
actually
Robin with
funny.
no
It was
powers,
one of those shows
but
on
he
PBS
got
that I
that
remember
ability to
actually
be
laughing out loud
useful.
when I watched it.
What I
The
see.
relationship she had with all the different villains in the show was honestly so goofy, but I loved how they weren't really taken serious. She was sort of an
They really
acquaintance to
wouldn't.
most of them, like the Butcher, Chuck, and
And
Toby.
creepy
I also like
about
how the show randomly had
the
such a deep
villain wouldn't
backstory
like
for Dr.
taking
Two
like
Brain,
too
where he used to be a
serious.
brilliant
So and
scientist, but
like
he got
it
taken
gave
over by
you
a rat obsessed with
knowledge
cheese.
and think
The
like
show did this a
what
lot
is
where it
it
was generally
really
silly but
about.
had serious moments, like when her secret identity is revealed to her best friend Violet, or that episode when a new alien hero named Miss Power showed up and turned Word Girl into a bully before attempting to destroy her and take over the planet. These Miss Power episodes were really good. They were so good that the
And they
creators
did
of
actually
Invincible
miss
just
like a
straight up
lot
ripped them
of
off
good
when creating the
episodes.
fight scenes, which
It
sounds like a
like they
joke
missed
but is
so good
actually real.
episode that I couldn't even.
Was great because there were so many that it never got boring. Plus, most of them were
Yes, he
fun to
didn't.
watch. My favorite was probably the Learner because he was actually kind of goated in terms of Word Girl villains. I also
Why you
liked
say that?
watching the amazing rope guy always get caught so easily by her and thrown in jail, where he would be watched by that one guy.
Hey, in the rope guy, it the same dumb guy Jeff from Him Danger, where Jeff was so eager for Captain Man and Henry to capture him that he wouldn't a feeling per se. Like he was so easy to capture, so easy to put to prison. Like their jaw wasn't nothing. Just like the root guy. The root guy had been like work out not tough and villain.
Always threatened to eat his hat. The show also taught me so many words through not only Word Girl defining them, but the post-credit game show called May I
For
Have a
one,
Word,
it taught me
which I
so much
loved just
word
as much
on
as the main
how
show.
word girl
A
can
few words that I
define every
specifically remember
word
learning were
that
cumbersome
that
from the
come
very first
out
episode,
from the
and
feeling and stuff.
doppelganger from that
Like I
one Mr.
like the
Big
words
episode
that
where there just so
she
happened to
does,
be a guy
but I
that
like
looked
how she
exactly
gets
like
to
him named
define
Mr.
each
Bird.
word.
Another show that specialized in vocabulary was the classic cartoon Martha Speaks, where
Oh, I
Dog named
remember
Martha.
Don't forget the way you look me in the eyes. And I keep you in my heart. And my heart is where you are. I still think of you. I want you coming back. Call me when you want. Baby, can't take it on my heart. Yeah, yeah. Give me your love. Yeah, yeah. Call me when you want. Baby, can't take it on my heart. Yeah, yeah. Give me your love. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Who can speak. I probably didn't need to explain that to you, but regardless, this show was
Yeah,
super fun
you
to
really
watch.
didn't.
The way Martha got the ability to speak was that she ate some alphabet soup, and instead of going to her stomach, the letters traveled to her brain. It may sound stupid, but this explanation made perfect sense to me as a kid. I was just like,
That
yeah, that sounds about right. But the thing that
what?
confused me was how the other dog in the
Yeah.
show, named Skits, didn't have the ability to speak, even though they ate the same exact soup. Like, why was Martha the only one blessed with this supernatural ability? In the show consisted of Helen, who was Martha's owner, TD, Truman, Alice, and sometimes Carolina, who was Helen's cousin. The way this show would usually teach kids about new words was Martha would use a word wrong while speaking, and Helen would correct her and tell her the true meaning of the word and the correct
Oh, so
context to use it in. Similar
it
to how
like if Martha you the word, let's say clock, right? And she said clock, right? Then Helen would go and say no, the word clock, and then she would tell her the meaning and definition behind the word in like a short, not a long but a short summary.
teach
I get
people
it, I
new
get
words
it.
in her show. However, I think it made sense considering Martha is a dog that got her ability to speak from alphabet soup, that she
Yeah.
wouldn't always know the proper way to use big words. I remember there was also this one kid named Milo that was new, who Truman sort of adopted into the friend group. I remember the episode where the Milo kid saw Skits and decided to name him Mr. Fluffles. Then, whenever he talked about him, his dad thought it was his imaginary friend because he never saw Skits. And then, when Skits would talk to Martha in dog language about Milo, Martha would think Milo was Skits' imaginary friend until they all eventually met each other and learned
Yeah.
the truth. The bad guys in this show weren't really that bad. There was Alice's brother, who was just sort of a bully to her and her
And the creepy
friends.
part about
His
it, the
friend
bad guy
Reginald
wasn't
Steinglass, who was
actually
his little
bad guy. They were
sidekick,
just being
consistently
bullies.
making fun of them and stuff.
Like you know those
There was an
typical
annoying old lady neighbor who
bullies
bothered them
that
on
just bully you
occasion.
for no reason.
And then there was
That
these
was
two
the
guys
bad guy
named
are.
Pablum and Otis who consistently tried to steal Martha due to her unique ability. They did so through the means of deception and conning, like when this dude dressed up as an old woman and claimed Martha used to be his dog. My favorite episode of this show was probably the one where Truman was geeking out about seeing his favorite scientist, which just so happened to be none other than Neil deGrasse Tyson. I don't think I even knew who Neil was when I watched this, but I just remember seeing
I
myself in
never
Truman's
knew
character.
who knew.
The last show I want to talk about was a staple of the PBS Kids network, a show that has been running for over 20 years that people don't seem to talk
20
about that much.
years?
That being Cyber Chase. Group of kids named Inez, Matt, and Jackie, who were transported into cyberspace by a character called Motherboard, who, not gonna lie, looked pretty freaky at times, especially when she would start glitching out. Motherboard essentially recruited the kids to fight against the hacker, who is the main villain trying to take over cyberspace. Along with his two henchmen, who I really liked growing up as they were funny to me, they reminded me of these two from Hercules. Matt, Jackie, and Inez also worked alongside Digit, who was a mechanical bird voiced by the legendary Gilbert Gottfried. Each character brought something unique to the table, with Matt's bravery, Jackie's creativity, Inez's intelligence, and Digit's humor, they made for a great team. The show also incorporated a lot of math in it when it came to the plot and defeating Hacker. Obviously,
It didn't. It did actually incorporate a lot of math. That's why I can see why my math was a little bit good. Usually I had D's in math. Now I end up got like a C or a B in math. I see. This show actually did taught me a lot about different math and problems.
a PBS show, so that is to be expected. But Cyberchase did a really good job of incorporating educational content without it feeling forced. The math problems were integrated into the storyline seamlessly, making it easier for me to grasp and retain the information as a kid.
With the story.
The show's setting
Like,
was another standout feature. Cyberspace was a cool place to see the characters explore. It was a colorful world full of diverse environments, from ancient pyramids to futuristic cities. This variety kept the show visually stimulating, especially since the show went on for so long. The hacker was probably the most entertaining character in the
And the hacker made the show entertaining. Like, hacker made the show what it is, but the show couldn't have been underrated. And like, bro, couldn't y'all just kept the show going for a little bit on PBS? Like, y'all couldn't keep it going for a little bit on PBS Kids?
show with a surprisingly deep lore. He was created by Dr. Marbles and originally worked to protect Motherboard alongside Digit, who he himself created. But he eventually decided that he wanted to rule cyberspace for himself, causing him to be banished by Dr. Marbles. Hacker in turn infected Motherboard with a virus and created his two henchmen Buzz and Delete to accomplish his goal of taking over. However, he is constantly stopped by the Cyber Squad, including Digit, who left Hacker to join the kids in protecting Motherboard. This show also had a live-action segment at the end of the episodes called Cyber Chase for Real, where this guy Harry or this girl Bianca would act out the concepts learned from the episodes in their...
The reason why I like about this show, cause they have where they'll show like what the meaning behind it. Like they'll give you an example in real life on the math problem and the problem that happened in the show. Just like Warcraft, bro. In Warcraft, they'll show you like in real life an example of the actual animal that they got taught in the show, and they'll show you what the animals really do in real life.
Look in the real world, which I think was a nice little addition to the show. There are a lot more underrated PBS Kids programs that I would love to talk about, so like this video if you want a part 2, and comment down below your favorite memories from any of these shows.
Yo, did I miss any underrated PBS Kids show? Let me know in the comments below. If you like it, check out my other reactions.
My heart is where you are. I still think of you. I want you coming back.